Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. My heart is beyond full right now.
Really?
It is.
How come?
Because I didn't think. I don't know. I guess I didn't think that this was possible.
Whoa.
Yeah.
How come?
How come?
Yeah.
Do you know who you are?
Not really.
Like, have you looked in the mirror? You're
not-
Laura Clary.
I see. That doesn't mean like
That doesn't mean anything because you're living that life.
100%. Yes. I forget anyone watches me, and then I like leave the house, and sometimes I'm reminded. You know, sometimes. Mm-hmm. But like, I don't think it's really soaked in ever. You know,
Yeah.
I've just always been this goofball idiot, and I've
Right.
loved that, making people laugh. And I've been doing it since I was a little girl, and now I just do it on a bigger scale.
Right.
But so it feels very like normal to me.
What do you think? I mean, I don't know who's interviewing who
Go
here,
ahead. This is Paulie's podcast. This is Paulie Siegel, by the way, social worker, addiction specialist, and mindfulness practitioner. The does that mean?
it just sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I thought. She's a garbage man, actually. She was.
I just cleaned your house
She
and then
just
popped in for this
And then
interview.
she was like, "Can I be on your podcast?" And I was like, "You did just clean my house."
Here's my question. What do you think would be the moment where you really knew who you were and knew your impact?
What do I?
Like when you think I'm still trying, like I still don't even know, like I'm living my life and I'm me, but I don't know really my status. What's the moment where you would be like, oh yeah, I know exactly who I am?
I guess that changes all the time. Like I've been aware of like my external success, I guess, at times, or like an impact that maybe I'm having in some way, if that's what you mean.
Yeah, I didn't know if there was like a pivotal moment where you'd be like,
Like that's who I am.
yeah.
I think it changes all the time. So I don't know. I don't even know. I don't know. Who am I?
Well, I think the trick part of that question, not that I intended it to be that way,
Yeah.
but the trick part is that do we ever get to a moment where we finally fully feel enough?
Ah, okay.
I think that's where I don't know if that
I see.
does that really ever happen?
Yeah, does that really ever happen? I think it's a daily practice for me. Some people I find, although I'm starting to doubt this theory. I used to say I have friends who just like are just naturally super optimistic and like feel enough and feel deserving and like don't really struggle mentally. And they just probably because they had like secure, loving homes and parents who were consistent and whatever validated them and
Yeah.
all of that. But I'm starting to see, even with those friends, like we all wrestle with insecurities. We all wrestle with this like epidemic really of like, we're not enough. That seems to be the main narrative that everyone's telling themselves for some reason.
What's fascinating to me about that is when we look at the millennial generation, so that would be anyone born 1980 to 1995, we were told that we were absolutely everything.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Like we shoot for the stars, dream big,
Yes.
the world is your oyster. So that seems a little counterintuitive that was the messaging, yet the internalization is, am I actually enough?
And why is that, do you think?
Well, I think social media has played a huge role where we're in this constant comparison. Right? We're all looking and sizing each other up of who's better, who's smarter, who's prettier, who's more successful. So how could that not lead to a sense of like, am I enough? Am I worthy?
The compare and despair, it's the worst thing. It's
Yeah.
the worst. Yeah, but then you just remind yourself that like, I also believe there's no competition. Like I feel like that's an illusion. Like nobody can do what you do the way you do it. You know, there is no competition there. But I think we're fed these stories that we're all in competition and I've got to be the best, the best, the best. No, you just need to be the best at what you do.
Right.
Like specifically you. Like nobody else can do what you do the way you do it. There's no other Paulie Siegel.
Right.
I mean, maybe there is. We can Google it.
I don't think there is.
There's no other person named Paulie Siegel.
Well, I looked up Paulina Siegel
Paulina
once.
Siegel. There's no Paulina Siegel.
I think there was like one.
There's one
but I don't know
Paulina
about
Siegel.
Paulie.
We need to find her. We need to find her.
She needs to sub in. You know,
And
we'll
we
see.
need to. I'm just kidding.
Were you about to say kill her?
No. No. I don't murder. What?
No.
What? Imagine you come here and discover I'm a serial killer. I was saying that I have not been canceled yet, and it's time. So like, we need to figure out a way.
I would die happy though. If you killed me, I would die happy.
Oh my God. Aww.
It's an honor.
I will. Okay. But so wait, what is a mindfulness practitioner? How would you define that?
So I went through the Be Mindful Institute.
Okay.
So you get like,
Ooh.
a certification and you feel really good about yourself that you know what you're talking about.
Can you define mindfulness?
Yes.
Okay.
Mindfulness is paying attention.
Imagine you said no. You're like, I have no idea what that means.
No.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, go.
Mindfulness is paying attention on purpose to the present moment without judgment.
Oh, I just orgasmed. Say it again, one more time.
Zoom in on that. Zoom in on that.
It's like the things that interest you in your 30s. I love that shit. I love that shit.
Mindfulness.
Indoor plants. Oh,
Pay attention on purpose to the present moment without judgment.
wow, pay attention on purpose to the present moment. What was the last one?
Without judgment.
Without judgment.
Now you're gonna
Ooh.
judge. So it's not really without judgment.
Okay.
It's being able to notice the judgment and the evaluation. Notice, come back to the present moment and try to experience it with neutrality.
Whoa. Because you can't help but judge
Yeah,
sometimes, right? It's human nature.
for sure.
But then you just become consciously aware of that judgment. Okay, I see that. And then come back to it with a neutrality, you said?
Yeah, so like in this present moment, right, I might have critique thoughts that are happening about myself.
Okay.
I can notice those thoughts,
Okay.
not attach to them, and immediately come back and be present with you. Because
Wow.
this is what's happening right now.
Okay.
And what's happening right now is beautiful, and I can find that beauty if I connect to it.
Wow. Wow, I love that. So a mindfulness practitioner is...
I think really it just means someone who lives it, breathes it, believes in it, and has had training in it.
What led you to want to pursue that?
My nervous system has always been out of whack.
Okay.
I have always been keyed up, anxious, in this like cheetah mode my entire life. Like even as a little girl, I remember being like, felt like I was a tire spinning in mud. Like I had so much energy and I just didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And so, you go to college and I'm like, I want to be a therapist probably to fix myself. Because
Yeah.
isn't that why we all go into it?
Yeah, yeah.
And then
The therapists are the
teacher-
most f***ed up of them all.
the most fucked up
Yeah.
of them all.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm there and I'm like, medication can't be the only option,
Right?
right? I'm like, there has to be other mechanisms for me to find inner peace or regulate myself. And a teacher was like, we're talking about mindfulness today. Here's all the evidence, here's all the research behind it. And I was like, oh, it seems like this shit works. And so then I started reading about it and learning about it. And I was like, there it is. Like, this has to be the answer. And I think it really, in some ways, is the answer.
Literally.
Yeah.
I always say like my favorite book is The Power of Now, which is all about that really, isn't it? That the only way to attain real bliss, which is what Eckhart Tolle believes is our natural state, is bliss. The only way to attain that is through presence, being present, that we spend 70% of our lives in the past or in the future, which is like leading us to a perpetual state of anxiety and depression. And that the answer is just to be here now. That's it. And then to take it a step further without judgment or like to detach from the judgment, but essentially to just be present. That sounds so simple.
It's so simple, but it's so hard because our brain isn't wired to be present.
Why? For survival?
Correct.
Okay.
Like
Tell
we
me
are
more.
always, our nervous system and our brain is wired to keep us safe. Always. 500,000 years ago, it developed to do that, and it hasn't changed.
Why hasn't it evolved?
I don't know the answer to that, but they have looked at fMRI imaging of our brains in modern day compared to cavemen days.
Yeah.
And there's like small differences, but really not anything substantial,
Wow.
even though we're completely different lifestyle.
Oh my gosh.
You and I are not like hunting and gathering.
No. I've not been chased by a lion once today. Not once.
But you will be chasing me later when I try to escape.
That's correct.
Right.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And your anxiety will go up, rightfully so, because I'm trying to murder you.
Correct.
But why do we... That's just the running joke. Is that
This is how she gets canceled. I'm for it. Let's go.
You're a garbage man and I'm a murderer. I don't know how we got here, but here we are. But yeah, we get so anxious over like the most trivial shit, and like, what purpose does depression serve? Like, why is that?
Well, if you look at it, depression is if I'm answering that through polyvagal theory. You familiar with this?
No.
So it's all about nervous system regulation, and our body goes into different trauma states depending on what the stimuli is.
Okay.
So when I think of depression, how I understand it is it's dorsal vagal shutdown. It's I can't tolerate what's happening anymore, and the only way to stay safe is to shut down, is to disconnect, to numb,
Wow.
to be in this state of like bear in hibernation.
Ooh. That
It's a
sounds
safety
nice.
mechanism.
Yeah. Okay. So then it kind of serves a purpose. Sometimes maybe we do need to shut down a little
Yeah.
bit, right?
Yeah. Well, think about like if a bear was coming at both of us. If I can't escape it, right? So cheetah mode would be like you and I would be scanning the room of how do we get out of this room safely. And then freeze would be I have a lot of energy and mobility, but I can't move, and it might be safer for me to just be like this as the bear kind of roams around.
That's like a possum, right? Don't
Yeah.
possums do that?
I don't know.
Those little dumb little animals. They're not dumb actually, but they lay there and play dead. They freeze when there's a
Yeah.
yeah.
And then I feel like shutdown is completely numb, right? Like if I go into this numb state, I can survive the pain if it attacks me.
Whoa. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I think depression is just,
The numb.
you know, that shutdown. Yeah.
Okay, I've done that. I've done a bit of in my day. It's helpful sometimes.
Yeah.
But not to stay in it. So, okay, and then addiction specialist. What's up with that? You help people get sober?
Attempt.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's the process like for that?
Well, it's interesting. So in 2012, when I was doing my clinical studies, a teacher was like, listen, like, you should try addiction. I think you'd be good at it. And I didn't have...
You should try being an addict.
Yeah.
Have you tried cocaine?
Yeah, no,
It's
still not.
fun. No, I'm just kidding. She's an addiction specialist. She is a specialist at being an addict. No? Okay.
Not a food addict.
Interesting.
I would say I've been a food addict my whole life.
Dude, I think I was just telling Chris this hours ago that I feel like everyone has some addiction. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I just feel like there's something, like you're saying food. For me, it was alcohol and drugs. I'm sober, but it was that. And it's definitely transferred. I've been addicted to my work. I've been addicted to love. Oh my God, let me tell you. So for food, you say you've struggled with that?
I would say I'd struggled with food since 8 years old.
Interesting.
I learned very quickly that in order to feel like to get back into my body, I needed to stuff my face.
Wow.
And
Okay.
until I did that, I was just always buzzing. It was like finally the bee had landed on the flower.
Really?
Yeah,
Why do you think that at 8?
great question. I would say that is when the trauma started to happen around body and appearance from doctors and family. And so I very quickly had to figure out, like, how am I going to stay safe and how am I going to regulate?
When you say trauma with doctors, what do you mean?
I was a fat kid. So, like, I would go to the doctor and the doctor would be like, look at my mom and be like, she needs to lose weight. This is really dangerous. I wasn't even that fat, though. Like, I was chubby. You know, I would like to think the cute kind of
You were
chubby.
thick.
I was thick with 3 C's.
Right?
Yeah.
I wish I was that.
Do you really?
I mean, I have. I'm in acceptance of my body. I've always been lanky, skinny. I get criticized for that all the time. But this isn't about me wanting to be thick. This is about your thick ass.
Exactly.
So the doctor said that.
Yeah, and put me on a diet.
Ew.
And
Hate
had a
it.
very rigid meal plan, and I had to like
Oof.
have weigh-ins.
No,
I mean,
no,
he
no.
was
That's
like a weight Nazi.
ew.
Yeah.
And your mom probably loved you and was trying to do what she thought was. I mean, I'm just making shit up. I don't know your mom.
Yeah, no,
I don't know your
would
mom.
I would say you're spot
Okay,
on.
thank you.
That she was trying to keep me healthy.
But it kind of had the opposite effect a little bit, or like it
Yeah.
messed with you. So how did you overcome that?
I don't know, is it really ever overcome?
Totally.
I don't know if that would be the word I would use. I would say I notice the impulse to use food when I feel stressed.
Okay.
I can feel that urge to be like, just eat 17 cookies.
Yeah.
You had a hard day.
Yes.
Reward yourself.
Yes.
And then I'm like, okay, like what's happening?
Yeah.
Can I be curious to what's happening? And then nourish myself in a different way.
Wow.
But I'm not 100% successful.
Yeah.
There's still times where I use food to f around a little bit.
Yeah. It's progress, not perfection.
Right.
I mean, it's interesting with food addicts. Like, I think that's got to be hard because with alcohol and drugs, it's 100% abstinence. So it's like I just can't touch anything mind altering because
Right.
if I do, it releases the phenomenon of craving and the physical allergy, and like maybe I'd be safe one time with a glass of wine, like maybe, or maybe I would end up in Tijuana with some random Irish guy. Not that's happened. That's what.
Irish guy,
Yeah.
not a Mexican.
Irish. I met him at a bar here. We drove to Tijuana. It was terrible. I didn't even like the guy, but I was just escaping. I was running away. I was in my addiction, and he
Right.
was there, and he had a funny accent. So I
They do
said,
have
get
a
in the
funny-
car. He's like, okay. And we just like fought the whole way. It was terrible. We had nothing in common. We fought like a married couple. It was terrible. But it was just about running away and escaping, and I was in my addiction. But my point is, I know for me to stay safe, I have to completely abstain from mind-altering substances. Okay, but with like food, you can't f***ing just not eat.
Right. And that's what makes it so complex.
Right. So I know with like OA, they have certain programs, like it's like, oh, some people, like I had a sponsor who lost 100 pounds from going there, and she, I think she like didn't have refined flour or sugar or something like that, because those were the two things that led the craving, but then everything else she could have. Then I had another girl I knew who literally asked God, higher power, to remove her obsession around food, and then she swears that she eats normally now and doesn't have that. So I don't know, I guess it's just like, the solution is maybe different for everyone.
I don't believe that woman, but sure.
The God one.
Yeah.
I'm calling bullshit.
I'm calling bull on that one.
But that's what she told me, you know?
Well, when we tell people things, they have to be 100% true,
They
right?
have to be, right?
Right.
I mean, look, I saw a TikTok video about it. It's got to be true.
Exactly.
It's got to be true. But who knows? Maybe, I mean, who knows? Who freaking knows? So, okay. So then what else? Tell me, like, how do I fix my life? Give me the answers.
I actually
Give me some tools.
I really thought about before I came here.
How to fix my life?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Have you done any inner child work?
Probably not enough, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because you know why? It sounds a little cheesy, doesn't it?
It sounds it, right?
Inner child work.
But is there buy-in to maybe think, could it be helpful?
And also, I'm kind of joking that it sounds cheesy. Like,
Yeah.
I will admit when people talk about their inner child, I do cringe slightly. And that's on me. And I don't know why I'm like, ugh. Maybe it's because I'm like resisting that work or something. Or there's this part of me that feels like it's not really gonna work. Like, I've done a 12-step program. To me, even though it's spiritual, to me it's actually very practical. That program has me list out my resentments and my fears and like figure out, you know, a way to like forgive and keep my side of the street clean and make amends when I've been an asshole. It's like
Right.
very practical. Lead with love and tolerance. Like, I live by principles that work for me, but maybe there is some like deep-rooted stuff that I still struggle with, even though there's a lot of improvement in my life. So I don't know. What does inner child work look like?
Well, I think the question would be is there fear to connect with the vulnerable parts of yourself that are wounded?
Maybe. I did do you know Marissa Peer? Did you see the Marissa Peer?
hypnosis?
Yes.
I was going to say the hypnotic.
She did like a hypnotherapy session on me where she had me go back to when I was a kid and like replay traumatic events. And that was really interesting. And then kind of like retell the story. So that was maybe some inner child. Is that inner child work?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's adjacent.
Okay,
but
adjacent.
it probably has overlap for
Okay,
sure.
so what do I do?
So inner child. Should we do like an inner child thing?
Why the not? This is how I do my therapy, is on camera. Because I
For
try
free.
For free, yeah. That's why, because I've tried to get therapist appointments and there's waiting lists. So I just have therapists on my podcast so I could get therapy.
It's brilliant.
You know what I mean?
It's brilliant.
Right?
Yeah. You're a genius.
Not so much of an idiot after all, am I? All right, let's do this therapy.
Now I'm the idiot for providing free services.
Who's the sucker now?
The tables have turned.
The turntables have turned. Who came all the way from Chicago just to give this idiot therapy? Garbage man.
Garbage.
Not
man.
garbage man. She said she was a garbage man. I'm just like, I'm gonna sound like an asshole. I just like call you a garbage man the whole time. You said you were a garbage man. I'm just like,
Why did I say that?
I
though?
don't know. Why did you say that?
Why did I feel called to say that?
I'm a
I'm a garbage woman, man.
I feel like we need to do inner child work on you.
Amen, Sister friend.
Now,
Okay,
do you
so
want to? How much time did you say?
We're at 6 now.
Oh, okay. So we've got 6 minutes to do inner child work.
you think we could? I don't think we could do it in
Okay,
6
all right.
minutes.
So maybe
but yeah.
after the 6 minutes, we'll do it properly.
Okay.
So then, give me some. What are some tips to like live an amazing, happy, fulfilled life and never struggle mentally in any way, ever?
Die.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you don't want to suffer ever again.
That's a really good micro content. It's just like die.
I hate to say that, but
Yeah.
if someone says, and I've had clients come to me, I never want to feel anxiety again. I never want to feel sad again.
And I tell them, die.
No.
That's our time. And that's our time.
No, this is going to make me look like such a fucking asshole.
It's really not.
But here's the thing. If you didn't want to struggle or suffer, the only way to accomplish that within this lifetime is
to
die. But am I wrong, Laura?
No.
Think about that, really.
You're absolutely not. It's very Buddhist of you. Life is suffering, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think about that too. I think about that a lot. I think about the fact that we were given whatever, however we're here, I don't know. But like we were given this complex range of emotions. We were given anxiousness and sadness and fear and all of these. And if we weren't meant to experience them, why do they exist within us?
Well, why do you say we weren't meant to experience them?
Well, that's what I'm saying, that we were meant to experience them. That, like, you're right. There is no such thing as avoiding negative feelings entirely. Like, that's
Right.
not realistic. And I'm just like supporting that theory by saying, like, obviously we were meant to experience them because we have them within
Right.
us.
Right.
That's all. Does that make sense?
100%. That
Yeah.
we have this full spectrum of
Yeah.
pleasant and unpleasant.
Yeah.
And so that means we're human.
Yeah, we were meant to have all of there's a time for sadness. There's a time for happiness. There's a time for, I don't know, fear. There's a time for for gratitude. Like, there's a time for all of these different emotions and feelings.
Right.
They're not wrong or right.
Right.
They're just part of this experience.
Yeah, and in fact, I would say instead of us labeling them positive, negative, helpful, unhelpful, healthy, unhealthy, just pleasant and unpleasant.
Ooh, I like that.
So like if I wake up and I look in the mirror and I say like, God, Paulina, you look terrible. That's an unpleasant experience I'm having. Or I might wake up in the morning and look in the mirror and go, today's gonna be a good day.
You're hot as shit, Paulina.
Yeah.
You're hot as shit.
Thank
Look
you
at that sweet
so
ass,
much.
Paulina. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
What would you do if I just started like hysterically crying
I'd
in
let
that
it,
moment?
I'd let it, because I said you had a sweet ass.
Yeah.
I'd let it happen.
But would you like text a friend and be like, dude, I had the weirdest interview?
I told her she had a sweet ass and she started bawling. But yeah, I think that that's really interesting to like lean into the unpleasant, but also it's like not believing the lies. Like, why do we tell ourselves lies?
Give me an example of a lie that you think we tell
Like
ourselves.
you saying to yourself in the mirror, like, you look bad today,
Yeah.
you know? Or like,
Well,
I'm not enough.
I don't think the brain thinks it's a lie. I think the brain tells us negative content to make us more vigilant. And if I become more vigilant, I can protect myself better.
Oh, wow. Wow. So it's like a survival mechanism?
Yeah, I would say the self-critique voice, which is kind of what we're hitting on right
Yeah.
now, is a protector.
Whoa. So you think it's useful?
Yes, in moderation. But when it goes into overdrive and it hijacks the way that we orient to the world,
Yeah.
then it would not be helpful.
Yeah.
But people say all the time in my practice, or even on my podcast, like I just hate the part of myself that beats myself up and is super mean to me, and
Yeah.
how do I get rid of that?
Yeah.
I don't know if we should try to get rid of it altogether. I think it helps us to look introspectively.
Whoa.
It could, right? If
Yeah.
we see it that way.
I see. And it never really fully goes away, I guess.
Wait,
Yeah.
I want to tell you something.
Yeah.
Okay, can you change your face though when I'm telling you?
Okay.
Okay. So
Sorry.
when I discovered you in 2016, I remember the day.
Oh my God.
I swear to God, I remember the day, and it was when you were doing the skits like Steven,
Yeah.
those ones, Steven, and you had that filter
Yeah.
on. And I remember thinking, I didn't realize, and this is going to sound so dumb. I'm going to sound like an idiot on the
okay.
Idiot podcast.
Perfect.
I remember thinking, wait a second, it's possible to be hot and funny?
Really?
I had
And
that.
that was from Helen, the square face.
The square face.
You were like,
Well, and I
"God
obviously saw what your face looked
Sure,
like
sure.
outside of the filter.
Whoa.
But I was like, wait, because if you're funny, then you can't possibly be attractive.
Whoa.
Those two don't go together.
That's so funny.
And if you're not attractive, then you have to be funny
Gotta
to
be
make up
funny.
for it.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. I don't know. I've always just felt like funny was my nature. I'm much more comfortable being an idiot and distorting my face and being goofy than I am like trying to be beautiful or like I remember because I'm 6 feet and lanky, I would get approached for modeling all the time. And I was uncomfortable with it, but I was like, okay, like I guess I was open because people were asking me, oh, you can make a lot of money, you know, go to this agency. So I went to Chicago when I was 15 or 16 years old. I went with this girl and took the train, went to this big agency, sat down, they looked at me, and I was like probably a similar weight to what I am now. And he looked at me and he was like, okay, he's like, you have potential. He goes, you need to lose 10 pounds and grow your eyebrows out and come back. And I remember I was literally either 15 or 16, and I was so appalled at the fact that he told me to lose 10 pounds because I knew I was not overweight.
Right.
And even if I was a little, I was grossed out by that. Like it just left such a bad taste in my mouth. Admittedly, my eyebrows did need some growing out. Admittedly, they were, you know, it was like that pencil thin.
It was
like
the 90s.
Yeah, well, it was 2003. But I was still rocking them real thin. You know.
Like you overplucked and you just didn't.
Overwaxed. It was
Got
just
it.
really, really, really thin was super in. It's actually coming back. All the Gen Zs are doing the super, super, super thin.
Yeah.
No judgment. I think it kind of looks cool. But that dude didn't. So he told me to grow my eyebrows out and lose 10 pounds. And I remember after that, I was like, I am not, like, the idea of having a career based off of, in my opinion, the most least interesting thing about me, which is how I look,
Right.
is really, sounds horrific. Sounds horrific. And then it's also like, this is the way I look, and then if I don't look good enough, like, my career's I'm not gonna be successful, and then I'm gonna have a shelf life, and I don't know, just the idea of being judged solely off your looks, I could never get behind it. And then when I moved out to LA at 17, I had a few more people say, oh, you gotta sign with this agency, you can make so much money. Well, I'm broke, I'm struggling, I'm trying to be an actress. I'm like, okay. So I go into another modeling agency, even though I didn't necessarily want to. And the guy's like, oh my God, I think you could be huge. I'm like, okay. And he's like, and now I had long blonde hair at the time. He goes, but we need to cut off all your hair and dye it black. And I was like, okay. And he's like, and then I'll sign you. So he sends me to the hairstylist. They chop off all my hair, thick bangs, dye it black or like dark, dark brown, almost black.
Like my color.
Yeah, which I actually love, and my sister has the same black hair. But they cut it off, dye it black, bangs, totally different look. They do a whole spec shoot with me, like a whole photo shoot. They get the pictures back. They were like, no, this isn't gonna work. So like now I'm left with this like entire, and like it was fine. Like I think I kind of pulled off the hair, but I wouldn't have done that. I did it to like,
holy shit,
to get signed.
Yeah.
And then so they chop my hair off, dye it black, and then they see the pictures and they're like, yeah, we're gonna pass. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And then I think I tried one more time, and it was like, man, what did this agent say? Oh, this was when I was in New York, and I was 18, and I was
my face is still stunned. Like, I can't imagine you're like, okay, I'm gonna do this thing, it's gonna like work. I'm poor, I'm 17, like, got it. And then they're like, sorry.
Right. Left me with the bowl cut.
Did you end up crying that day, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so, yeah. Then I was in New York for a time. I was in this really horrific relationship with this photographer / drug dealer. It was it was fun and exciting and scary and dangerous and all of the things.
Yeah.
And I met the guy once and decided to fly out there and move in with him and fall in love really quickly. He was a photographer / drug dealer. And he was like, let's do pictures. You should be a model. Like, what's going on? So I'm like, okay. So take some pictures. He goes, go to this agency, bring them the pictures. You're gonna be huge. I'm like, okay. So, and this was a time where like
Is this with the bowl cut?
No, this was actually the bowl cut. Okay, so the bowl cut, maybe I was 19, and then this one I was 18, whatever. It was late teens. I actually think the New York one was before the bowl cut. Then I got to LA and it was bowl cut. Okay, and then the first one, the brows and the lose 10 pounds, that was Chicago. So I had a go in Chicago, a go in New York, and then the go in LA.
Right.
So we're on the New York one, and he just sends me there to this agency. I walk in, they take one look at me, and they're like, thanks for coming in, bye. Like, it was just really short, hi, bye. They were not interested at all. They said they liked my eyes, but bye, get out. And then I come back, and my then boyfriend said, the agent called me and said you had a bruise on your arm and a stain on your shirt. What the hell's wrong with you? And starts yelling at me because I like went in there, and admittedly I still stain my shirt every day. I can't not stain my shirt.
Did the bruise come from the drug dealer?
Probably, yeah. Like, he was pretty abusive, yeah. And he would grab my arm, you know, so I was like not in a good space. So yes, the bruise on my arm, although I still bruise easily and I don't have a drug dealer boyfriend.
Okay.
And I still stained my shirt, but whatever. I walked in there a mess, they kicked me out. And as I'm walking home, he calls me on the phone going, how could you go in there with a bruise on your arm and a stain on your shirt? And I just remember feeling really defeated, and I was like, oh man. And I felt really sad, and I was walking back home in my apartment, and my boyfriend's yelling at me for going into this agency with the stain and the bruise that he had given me. And then this like crackhead on the street is sitting there, and it was her. She looks up at me and she goes, out of nowhere, she just goes, you think you're pretty. You're an ugly bitch. What?
Oh my God, you got shat on.
Like, that's what I'm saying. I'll never forget. I'm walking home defeated, kicked out of this modeling agency, have this boyfriend screaming at me, and the crackhead just looks at me and goes, you think you're pretty. You're an ugly bitch.
You, like someone took a giant on your chest.
I just don't know why that all happened on that day. So I took that as a sign.
Yeah, that
modeling was
wasn't for you.
not for me. But ironically enough, I ended up like just playing models on TV for the next like 5 years. I would play them as in commercials and sitcoms, and I would play a dumb model, and then I wrote a dumb model character. Mm-hmm. So there you go. That's my modeling story. I don't know how we got onto that.
No one has ever asked me to model.
Okay, good, because it's a horrific industry. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Yeah.
It's not good. And my friends who actually succeeded at modeling, terrible for their mental health. Absolutely terrible.
How could it not be?
How could it not be?
Like, no, those people are fried.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah.
They can't eat.
They can't eat.
Constantly
They're told to lose, 10 pounds when they're already like Auschwitz.
Right. It's a horrific industry. Absolutely.
That made me just think of
and it fades.
his name.
It fades.
Yeah.
Beauty fades. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like it's the least interesting about someone is how they look. Ugh. Okay. Oh, that's why. Because you said, "Oh, you're hot and funny." That's how we got
that
onto
was the first time I had that realization of like,
That's
whoa,
funny.
both can exist
funny.
in one person.
But I definitely prefer the funny.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I do too.
that's what I like.
The funny feels safe.
It's also fulfilling
Right.
too, and it's safe. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't feel threatening.
No.
The pretty part, that feels threatening to me.
Yeah. Me too. Me
Yeah.
too. Me too. Okay, wait. Inner child. What's that?
Well, I was thinking we'd do like a combo of internal family systems and, I'm just speaking gibberish, and inner child.
The hell does that mean?
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Get comfortable.
Okay.
Yeah, take your shoes off.
Should I take my
Take your clothes off
Clothes
for this,
off?
unfortunately.
Okay.
Or fortunately for all of us.
Fortunately. Okay.
Okay. I want you to think about a part of yourself that you dislike.
I just can't. There's just no parts of myself. Wait, can they do it with us? Can the viewers / listeners do it with us?
Absolutely.
Okay, guys, are we ready?
Yeah, so for Laura and our listeners, I want you to think of a part of yourself that is challenging, a part that you struggle with, that you want to get rid of, that you really judge. So I'll give an example, like the controlling part of me, the part of me that always wants to micromanage and have all the answers, and that part. That doesn't have to be yours. I'm just giving an example of myself.
Do you want me to say mine out loud?
If you feel
I can.
you would like to.
I've got a list
Okay, pick the one that's the most challenging.
of just something that I don't like about myself.
Yeah. Yeah, and it doesn't have to be less about like a personality trait per se, but
Yeah.
more of like an internal experience that you notice that you do that you don't like.
Sometimes I can be indecisive, and that bothers me. Or sometimes people pleasing.
Yeah, these are good ones.
That's another one that like I'd like to get rid of. I also procrastinate sometimes, and I know that's fear.
Sure.
I guess the procrastination is the one that's been an issue for me the longest. The people pleasing is there too. So I guess like those two are the most like prominent ones,
Yeah.
maybe.
Let's go with people pleasing.
Okay.
I think that's a great one. Okay, so when you are in a situation in which you notice that part come up around like, I need to make this other person happy.
Yeah.
Like I need to keep the peace, I want them to be pleased.
Yes.
Where do you feel that in your body? And sometimes we need to close our eyes and think back to a scenario in which people pleasing came up.
I feel it in my chest.
Yeah. And if you could describe what it feels like in your chest.
I feel a tightness in my chest, and I feel tense in my like back and chest, sometimes my shoulders. But there's like a tenseness and a tightness that comes when I'm doing that.
Okay, so can you feel it right now in this moment as you think about it? Okay. So what I want you to do
In my
is,
heart too, but yeah.
your heart feels tight?
Yeah, or like I'm protecting it almost, I don't know.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk to this part, thinking of it like a separate entity from you. Okay, and I want you to ask this tightness, what do you want me to know? And an answer will appear in your mind. You don't have to think of it. It'll talk to you.
What do you want me to know? Okay, so when I asked that part of my body, it said you're safe. You're safe is what came to me.
And perhaps you're safe when other people are happy.
Whoa.
Does that feel right?
Yeah. Yeah, kind of.
Okay. And maybe the safe isn't the exact word, but you're okay if other people are happy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Do I keep my eyes shut?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We're going to be in this for a few minutes.
Okay.
Okay. I want you to ask it, how old does it think you are? Whatever number pops in, we go with.
How old is this tightness?
Yeah, this people-pleasing urge think you are.
Okay. Okay.
What number did you get?
The number that came to me weirdly was 16. But I question is that because I was just talking about a period of my life close to that? I don't know. That's just the number that came.
Yep. So I'll explain why that number is.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. So it thinks you're 16. Okay. Continue to breathe into it. And I want you to ask it, does it trust you?
Does this people-pleasing tendency trust me?
Yeah, does it trust you?
Okay, yes.
It does.
I think I want it to be yes.
Okay, so let's sit with it and really allow it to speak. Does it trust that you are capable in this world, interpersonally, with others?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
I wanted it to be yes, though.
Okay, I want you to ask it, and you're doing great here, and all of our listeners can go through this on their own. I want you to ask it, will it take you to a memory when you were very young where you felt similar to this experience? Tightness, urge to people please, to keep others happy. And whatever memory comes up, you can choose to share or not share.
I'm just kind of getting these, like a montage of memories. It's not like one specific thing. Like I'm getting these little scenes of me as a kid, like making all my friends laugh. And it's like me in one room on the phone. This was like back when there were landline phones. And they were all in one room with the phone on speaker and mute. And I was in the other room prank calling people. And they were just like killing themselves laughing. But I felt very much like it was my job to like entertain them and make them happy. And just like existing with them was not enough. I was the source of entertainment, which I loved, but I guess there was a pressure there. So I saw that scene and like, I was just doing that at home all the time, just easing tension by making people laugh, I guess.
Yeah, let's go with that. I want you to think back to that time, and there was this pressure of, I need to make them laugh. They need to think I'm funny. What would happen if they didn't find you funny? What would that mean about you?
That I failed, or maybe that I wasn't enough.
So is it fair to say that people-pleasing helps you to avoid not feeling enough or feeling like a failure?
Yes. And I also do it, yes. I
Yeah.
did it with like boyfriends too, like wanting to please them to feel enough, I would say,
Yeah.
as well.
Okay, so now we're going to enter into inner child work. We've done IFS up until this point. I want you to imagine you, Laura Clary, as your wise adult self, as you are now, are going to go back to that memory of prank calling and all your friends, and everyone is frozen except for you and the younger version of you. And imagine that you're standing or sitting in front of her. And I want you to ask her, what do you need from me?
Mm. Okay.
What does she need from you?
Mm. A hug.
Yeah, this is really common.
Really?
Yes, very common for inner children to ask for physical love. Okay, I want you to imagine giving her the best hug you could possibly give. One where you're squeezing her really tightly.
Okay.
And I want you to tell her that regardless if she makes someone laugh, she is still lovable and worthy. And that she is inherently valuable outside of being the clown. And as you say that to her, share what you notice.
Mm. I feel like not so tense in my chest.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can breathe.
Yeah. And use your breath here to create circulation in your body. Yeah, good. And I want you to ask her, is there anything else she needs from you?
Mm. It's funny because it's me talking to little me. And I asked her, and she said, love, just to be loved unconditionally.
That's really beautiful.
And really, that's just to love myself unconditionally, regardless of anything external,
Yeah.
I guess.
So as we begin to wrap this up, I want you to tell her that you're dedicated to work on that you hear her, and she needs unconditional love, and she needs to believe that she is worthy and valuable without the external confirmation. And that you're a team together as you navigate the world now. and that you'll be back very soon to be with her.
It's funny because the teenage Laura kind of like cringed at the 37-year-old Laura, like, okay, like I have to hang out with you again. But it was like also really nice.
Yeah, and she
Yeah.
might be a little skeptical. That's cool.
Yeah, she's still a little rebellious.
Yeah, understandable.
Uh-huh. But that was really cool.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay, bye, Laura. Bye.
See you later.
See you later. Don't get into too much trouble. Whoa. It's crazy because like those memories have always been so positive for me. You know, the memories of like that was like my job since I was little, to just make everyone laugh. So it's like a purpose. I love it.
Yeah.
But to question whether, like, if I don't do that, then I'm not enough, that's where it becomes detrimental to my mental health. This is still not bad. This is
No,
good.
and in fact, you make the world a better place by making people laugh.
But if I don't, it doesn't mean I'm not lovable or enough.
Bingo. And that's the healing.
And that's
the inner child needs to know that regardless of your performance, she is enough and beautiful.
wow. So I can just go back there?
Yeah.
Whoa.
I feel really like privileged to like do that with you.
Really?
Yeah. Like even I was finding myself sort of fighting tears because I resonate very much so in being the class clown.
Really?
And that if I'm not that, then who am I?
Yeah.
What's my value in the world?
What's my value? Yeah.
So I don't know, I was feeling like, oof, this is like bringing up my own inner child being like, you know?
Yeah. Wow. That's powerful. Wow. And it's like stuff, I don't know, all that it affects just our day to day, even as adults, you know, if we don't go, I guess, heal the inner child. All right, I'm getting into the inner child stuff.
She pretty cool.
She's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, and I think the journey, right? Like if this is something you do or don't do is fine. Is like if tomorrow you never made another person laugh, could you really feel that inner piece of I'm enough?
Right.
The answer probably is no at this point.
Yeah.
But the healing is you get to a place where you could say, tomorrow, if I never made another person laugh ever again, I'm still awesome. And I'm still important and valuable
And lovable.
and lovable and desirable and likable.
Whoa. I love that. That's amazing. Cause yeah, exactly. Cause when you're successful at doing what you love, it's like all great. But then if something goes south, suddenly, man, I had a friend, not to get too dark, but she was absolutely brilliant. I mean, I looked up to her so much. We did a pilot together years ago. Then she got her own sketch show. And I just thought, oh my goodness, this was like before social media. I just thought she was so brilliant, and she was. But she got her own sketch show, and then she did like 2 seasons, and I just thought, like, one day I'm gonna be successful like her. Like one day I'm gonna get to have a sketch show or like make millions of people laugh around the world just like her. I just know it. And I watched her and I envied her. Then season 3 came, the show got canceled. We followed each other on social media, and I started seeing all of her posts, and in all of her posts she was like getting high, like whatever, people do it and some people can do it safely, fine. But I was just noticing like a lot of like drug use and like her not being her normal self like in her posts.
Right.
And I thought, oh, and then I remember messaging her and being like, hey, like, do you want to get coffee sometime? And I think like part of me thought, I see a lot of myself pre-sobriety in her.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to just like talk to her and just say like, hey, like I found a solution, maybe you can too, who knows? Anyway, she was like, oh my God, yes, let's hang out. That was like in like May or something. And then literally in July, I got the news that she hung herself. Literally, she was maybe...
Really sad to hear that.
She was maybe 30, early 30s. But it was wild. It hit me so hard. I mean, so many reasons. She was so funny and so awesome and just like seemed like a sweet person. But I just could see so much of myself in her, and I saw the way she tied her self-worth to her ability.
Yeah.
And then when the network canceled the show, I could see
You
the
watched her
spiral.
shatter.
Yes, I watched it, and I watched her try and numb these feelings of I'm not enough because this network canceled me, and I tied my self-worth to this thing.
Right.
You know, and I just saw it all. And then it was like, boom. And it was so sad.
Yeah.
Because she just had this false belief that she wasn't enough.
And to me, as a clinician, hearing that, I'm like, man, that inner child had so much healing she needed.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
and obviously, you know, what happened is what happened, but there's still all these intricate parts of ourselves that need integration. Like, you still have you as your wise adult self, and then you have this inner child. You're not one yet.
Whoa.
That's the work, is having the inner child know that you are in synergy together.
Wow. That's the work.
Yeah.
So how often should I be visiting this inner child?
The more you do, the better. Because
Yeah.
she needs to develop a relationship with you. Right?
Wow.
Like you said, she was kind of skeptical, like, all right, I guess
Yeah,
I'll
she
see
was
ya.
like, you're kind of lame. Like, back off
Yeah.
a little bit. She
But
she was
also-
judging me a little.
But also was happy you were there. I mean,
yeah,
she
yeah,
softened
yeah,
and
yeah. There was just a moment where she was like, we have to hang out again, like that, a little bit.
Yeah. So I'll give an example, because I think the most transformative work is when we're vulnerable. Like, before coming here, my imposter syndrome was through the roof. Truly. And I was like, okay, like a wound is being activated. I can be curious to this. And prior to coming to your studio, I like closed my eyes and I was with my inner child, and I was like, no matter what happens today, regardless of outcome, performance, whether Laura likes you or not, like, you are enough and I see you. And you are just as lovable, even if this goes south.
Wow, even if it's a total shit show.
Even if it's a shit show and it's the worst episode ever. Right? And when I did that, okay, I'm okay.
Whoa.
Right? Whereas if I hadn't, I think I would have been like, well, how do I do it perfectly? How do I make sure?
Yes. And you're able to like relax and just know, regardless of what happens, like it doesn't affect your self-worth.
Right.
Yeah, I love that.
And it doesn't mean my self-worth wouldn't be bruised.
Sure.
Right? Like, if after this you were like, you're fucking horrible, I think,
Out of my
right, I would be
house.
like, that would sting.
You whore. For no
Get out, you
reason.
fucking tramp. Yeah. Thank you for doing that with me. No, seriously.
For doing what?
That exercise. It's not easy
I
to
thought you
go.
meant for calling you a whore.
Yeah, thank you for calling me
Okay,
a hooker.
okay. No, but yes, that was awesome. I want to do it again.
Yeah, and think about how many memories we can do it with.
Oh my God.
Like memories when you were 5, even though you think you probably don't remember anything,
Whoa.
the body does.
Okay, so it's that, and then I find, so like the pressure around making people laugh, even though it's like my greatest joy too. The other thing I struggle with is people pleasing around, like, I would say romantic partners, or like my ex, like scared of like
Yeah.
what will happen if I set boundaries.
Yeah?
What's that
Those are scary.
word? Why am I so shit at setting boundaries?
Because you want people to be happy,
Yes.
and boundaries make people unhappy.
Literally, yes. Yes.
People become displeased with boundaries.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Me no likey.
No.
Me no likey.
No.
Oh Wait, what's that?
Look at this.
What?
Scared me.
I'm scaring. Okay. I'm like constantly scaring Chris.
Chris
So,
is like,
wait, what do I do? How do we set boundaries? How do we become okay with that, with making people unhappy?
I think it's one of the more complex questions. And I'll do the best I can in this
Okay.
answer. So part of boundary setting is being able to sit in the discomfort that the other person will be displeased.
Yeah.
If you can't tolerate that discomfort, you're not going to set the boundary most likely.
Okay.
So with Steven, right, like it's being able to know he might be unhappy, he might be angry, he might be fill in the blank. That's okay.
Throw a tantrum, whatever.
That's okay. That's okay.
It's
That
okay.
is okay. Where other people are allowed to have unpleasant emotional experiences. And that's sort of the inner child too of like, but if that happens, then we're not safe anymore.
Yes.
So really going inward and being like, we are safe. He's allowed to feel how he feels. That doesn't detract from our worth, our importance, our value, our lovability.
That's a super important one for me to work on. I was gonna say master, but
I thought you were going to say masturbate too.
masturbate too. Yes, that too. I love masturbating. Boundaries is my kink.
Do you think you could get off to masturbating to
ba-
boundaries?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that part of your
Part of my mechanism. I will say, I tell a lot of people
to masturbate?
To masturbate.
Just go jack off.
Yeah, to go
It's that
jerk.
or die, okay?
You got two choices in life.
You got two. You can die. You don't want to feel pain? Die. Or masturbate.
I swear.
That's our time.
Talk about who's going to get canceled.
That's our time. Do you just tell people to go jack off or jill off? Depending.
Jill off, yeah. Just diddle.
That
diddle a little.
diddling that does help.
It's a great stress reliever.
It really is.
Yeah.
Honestly, great tool.
Great tool. Underrated tool,
Right.
you know?
So that's part of your prescription.
Yeah, just don't masturbate with your inner child because that would be weird
That would be weird. Yeah.
and inappropriate.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Perhaps
Okay.
even unethical.
I think so.
Yeah.
Right?
Maybe. I mean, it is you,
It is
so.
you. How would that even? Hold on. Wait a minute. I don't like this.
Yeah.
Okay. Masturbate or die. And that's our time. Thank you so much for coming. No. But wait, okay, so that's awesome. What are some other practical tools we can apply to, like, you know, help us?
Yeah. I would say another one would be living by your values. Like getting super clear, what are my top 5 values, and assessing how well am I living by them. And a lot of times we're not living by them as best as we can.
Like, what are your values? What are your top few values?
Humor.
Okay.
Humor is medicine to me.
Wow.
Like I have to laugh.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then sadly make other people laugh, hopefully.
Yeah.
But more importantly, make myself laugh.
Okay.
Okay.
Both.
Authenticity.
Oh, cool. Love that.
Courage. If I'm not acting courageously, I'm missing a big part of like my essence, I think.
Wow.
Okay, so we've got humor, authenticity, courage.
Yeah.
Friends and family, like they're a huge value of mine.
That's a value.
I love them. I want to be with them and support them and have them be part of my sphere.
Yeah. So then it's just like every day going, am I prioritizing these values?
Yeah. So like I like to say, pick one value of the day and be like, today I'm going to practice courage. Okay, if I were to be courageous today, what could I do?
Yeah, to me it's like walking through fear. So I would do some writing on this show that I'm conceptualizing in my head that I've been avoiding because I'm scared. So I would do some writing on that. That's one thing I would do.
Great.
Yeah.
Or authenticity. What can I do to remove the mask today? If I were to remove my mask, how would I interact with myself, others in the world?
Oh, I like that. Okay.
So values, they're imperative.
Yeah. That's really cool. So then your podcast, what led you like to start this podcast? What is it called?
Talking shrinks.
Talking Shrinks. Why is it called that?
Because shrinks aren't supposed to talk shit, right? Like we have to be these like buttoned up, perfect, like no emotion, always have our shit together. Messy? What's messy? That's not us.
No.
We're just ordinary people.
Yeah.
And so as I was, 21 sessions a week, always in therapy mode, I was like, I can't do that anymore.
Whoa.
Like I need an outlet to f around.
Did that take a toll ever on your mental health, having 21
Well,
patients a
I
week?
still do it every week.
You
but
still do?
Yeah. I know, I reduced it from 30. I was doing 30 patients every week.
Whoa.
So now it's better.
So you've heard it all.
Oh, I've heard some crazy ass shit.
Is there anyone that comes in? Well, can you tell me the craziest?
Someone masturbating with his feces.
Get out.
that was a
of
weird
my-
one.
Get out. Get out. Get the hell. Wait, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh. Like using it as like lube?
Right.
Ah.
Can you imagine trying to keep a
Oh.
straight face with that?
I can just feel the UTI already just talking about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
And then what do you say to that?
What did you say to that?
I think all I could say was, tell me more about that.
Ooh, tell me more.
Like, how did that develop
Was that something
for you?
he did regularly?
I think I want to make the joke when he ran out of lube, but
Oh,
You know.
God. I would quit my job after that.
Yeah.
I would become a garbage man. That sounds much more appealing.
yeah, that was probably the weirdest clinical thing I've heard.
Wow. Wow. Is there anyone, I'm assuming this guy, that you just think, I can't help you?
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
or incapable of change.
Well, anyone's, if you don't really want it, then sure, you're not going to change.
Yeah.
Right? Like part of my specialty is trauma, OCD, addiction, anxiety. So that's like my bread and butter. So if you're in pre-contemplation stage of change for substance abuse, like maybe I have a problem, but I'm not really sure, you're not going to change in
Okay.
that moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find that people with traumatic childhoods, I'm sure you see a lot of those people, do you feel like a lot of them become narcissists or some of them?
Yeah, I think I think narcissism is a shield. That's a
Whoa.
protective mechanism.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you think once a narcissist, always a narcissist, or do you feel?
Like, are we talking about like classic narcissistic personality disorder or social media calling everyone a narcissist?
That's a good question, because I guess everyone has some narcissistic traits.
Sure.
Everybody. But no, like actual narcissistic personality disorder.
Now listen, this is a controversial take.
Okay.
If you look it up, only really 1% of the population has that personality disorder.
But everybody's ex-boyfriend is a narcissist.
Right. So that's the comical piece, is if the stats say 1%, but if you hate your ex, he's a narcissist. I think we've gotten a little cray-cray with that.
It's just that those exes have displayed maybe a lack of empathy here or have been unfaithful.
Well, you
or-
could be an asshole. That doesn't mean you're a narcissist.
Yeah.
Like, we're all assholes.
Have you ever had a patient that was like a straight up sociopath and you thought might murder you?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. So I worked with sex offenders for a while,
Oh,
which is a tough population. I did that for
Ooh.
2 years in my early career. Wow. And there were some creepy dudes,
I can imagine.
right? So I haven't thought about this population in a while, but I used to run a group by myself in a building, just me with 30 other sex offenders.
Okay. Okay.
So if that's not a wet dream, I don't know what is.
How are you alive?
Right. Courage. Authenticity. Humor. Friends and family.
Wow.
No. So there was one guy who was particularly creepy. And I just remember being like, dude, one day I could be dead. Like I might leave and he like didn't actually go home and might get me.
Your gut was telling you that.
Yeah, I was like, there's something, because he had like a weird fascination with me.
Oh, no.
I could feel it. Like there was extra attention towards me.
Really?
Yeah.
See, the sick part of me would be like, he thinks I'm great. He might
Yeah.
murder me, but
But at least he likes
he
me.
thinks I'm great. It's a win. I might end up in pieces, but he thinks I'm great. That's pretty cool. Oh,
But he didn't.
he didn't chop you up into pieces.
He didn't make me into a lampshade. I'm looking at this lampshade.
Wow, but your gut. So did you cut off the?
No, so I asked the agency to install cameras.
Really?
I said, I think it's time for us to have cameras in here.
Oh my God. And were most of the sex offenders molested or had some sort of sexual abuse?
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
a lot of maltreatment as a child, whether it was their own sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This podcast is so funny, isn't it?
I thought it was funny.
It actually was.
Yeah, you're making it like a joke that doesn't really apply.
You're right, because it was funny. It's just we were in a dark space.
Right. Well, nothing is funny about sex offenders.
Absolutely not. No.
Right. So should we change the topic?
You know, this podcast is sometimes funny and sometimes not. It's not meant to be funny all the time. Like it's, because I don't know, I just want it to be real. And
Right.
sometimes we're funny and sometimes we're not.
Right.
But man, that sounds really hard. I deflect with a joke too. Like when I'm uncomfortable, like that I was uncomfortable. So I'm like, oh, this is so funny, isn't it? You know? But okay, so where can everybody find you?
Well, if you want to access Shit Talking Shrinks, which is a podcast on mental health, the human experience, and society at large, and I have experts in the healing space that join me.
Whoa.
And we talk about everything from imposter syndrome to trauma to burnout.
Where does imposter syndrome come from?
I think shame.
Really?
Yeah, because if you inherently question whether you're a fraud, to me that feels like shame.
Where does shame come from?
Well, it's inherent in all of us, right? It's part of the human emotional experience.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So how do you combat that?
Imposter syndrome? I actually just did an episode on this. I'm trying to remember what the lady said. The lady. Her name is Sarah.
Sarah.
The lady. I think it's one thing that she said that I thought was very helpful was taking an inventory of like, what has your success been? Like the brain's being like, you're a fraud, you're not good enough, you're just a fake and phony. And then you're like, wait a second, brain, like actually like look at what I've accomplished.
Yes.
The math doesn't math.
Math ain't mathin'.
Right. So that's a tactic.
I love that. Take inventory of like the things. I find doing that just on a daily basis is really helpful. Like just downloading your day a little bit, and like in the 12-step program I'm in, it's like it's called an inventory, and you do what did I accomplish today? You do what can I have done better today? Was I selfish, self-seeking, dishonest, or afraid? Not to beat yourself up, just to reflect.
Yeah.
Was I selfish, self-seeking, dishonest, or afraid? Like, was I resentful today? If so, at who? At what?
Right.
And if I was resentful, what was the cause? What did it affect? What areas of my life did it affect? And then am I willing to like forgive that person, or do I need to make an amends?
Right.
It's just like downloading your day so you're not holding on to these fears and resentments. And then, so once you do that kind of tough work, then it's like, what did I accomplish today?
Right.
That's what made me think
I think
of
the
it.
12-step program is brilliant, even
Kind of
for
is, right?
people that aren't struggling with substances.
Right?
Yeah, because it requires a lot of introspection.
Oh my God, yes.
And to really take a hard look at yourself and be like, whoa,
yes.
what's going on here?
Yes.
I love the 12-step program, even for people that don't have addiction. Like the concept of it, I mean.
The concept, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it is really practical. And then like, yeah, but the what did I accomplish is really important. And I think doing that, like at the end of every day is ideal. I need to do that. Because it just, I think it would help combat imposter syndrome, right? Because you're making a list of like, wait, no, I woke up today. I showered.
I masturbated.
I masturbated. I didn't murder. I'm amazing.
Yeah. Wait, can I ask you, who is someone, if you got to be with them, if they came on the Idiot podcast, where you would feel imposter syndrome? Like, am I good enough for them?
Oh man. I was just talking about Kristen Wiig, how she's like my favorite.
Ooh.
So maybe her.
Well, you guys have similar mannerisms.
I'd be like, what are you doing here? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, like she's probably my favorite like comedian.
Yeah, she's
So maybe
brilliant.
her.
I
Yeah.
hope she comes on your
Oh my God,
podcast.
should we manifest it?
Let's yeah.
How can we get her? She doesn't have social media, or I would like.
Yeah, but you know, you live in LA.
You're right. I'm gonna go to her house.
Yeah.
You're right.
Stalk her.
Polly, that's a great idea. And I'm going to say an actual therapist suggested that I do this.
Okay, I'll take the hit for that one for you. I would. If that
Okay.
makes you feel good,
Really?
I'd take the hit.
All right, I'm
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
You want to come?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go.
Let's find her.
All right, y'all, we're going to go to Kristen Wiig's house. It was so nice talking with you. Is there anything you want to say or leave our viewers with?
One, I'm beyond grateful to be sitting on this couch. That's the first one. Second is do inner child work. Like, you know, obviously we did a demonstration of it. There's so much deeper work that can be done.
Whoa.
But connecting to those younger parts that are wounded, they need you.
Whoa.
Like, they really need you.
Whoa.
Like, give them the love they deserve.
Okay. Okay.
And follow shit talking shrinks. Yeah.
Okay, I will.
Yeah.
And you better too. All right. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and the like button if you enjoyed this episode. And until next week, thanks again for coming.
Thank you.
Woo!